G'day there, Cygnets and Swanlings. 2012 Premiership player Nick Smith here. It's my pleasure, as always, to introduce a bevy of bloods, a fan podcast of the Sydney Swans Football Club, brought to you by Noddy and Stevo, a pair of red and white tragics. So pop on the kettle and settle in as the boys had an in-depth chat about the Swans' last game, the Swans' next game, and a little bit about footy too. This is Nick Smith signing off until next week's episode. But in the meantime, remember, be good to your bloods and they'll be good to you.
Welcome back to A Bevy of Bloods. I'm your host, Noddy, and today I'm joined once again by Chris. G'day, Chris. How you going, mate?
Great, Noddy. We've got a lot to talk about this.
We certainly do. In this episode number 31, we're going to be reviewing the Swannies Round 2 game. So fluff up your tail feathers and settle in for a potentially biased yarn about all things to do with our beloved Bloods. Last Friday night, our Sydney Swans defeated the Geelong Cats by 30 points with a final score of 17-5, 107 to 10-17, 77. All right, mate, first impressions. What did you think of that?
Well, that was probably the best fun that I've ever had in an AFL game for some time. It was wild. You can hear my voice, how rough it is right now. I'm not feeling so good. And that was probably because of the amount of partying and screaming and stuff that was done in the game. It was amazing. The crowd was on perfect, on best behavior, as well as being insanely rancid all at the same time. It was just gorgeous. What did you think?
Same, mate. It was just, I don't know what the word was. It was just, the vibe was awesome. Like, yeah. I remember, so my family, we were at Buddy's 1300th. So I was there with my parents and my siblings at the time, and we stormed the ground at that time. And that was 1999, 23 odd years ago or something like that. And I just felt awesome. I took my partner and our young son, and my brother was there as well. And of course, your good self and a couple of the other boys from the group. And we got on the field, and mate, it was just unreal. Like the building excitement throughout the game, and I think when he kicked his third, everyone just sort of erupted and was like, oh, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It was, it was unbelievable, mate. There were so many talking points. I mean, shout a few out, mate.
The first thing that I thought of when I was actually looking back at some of the videos was how wide my eyes were in every single photo and video we took that night. It was just looked like we were just in a different planet. I don't know what we're on, just absolute excitement, but we were just pumping. And if you don't mind, there was a really good summary by someone on Facebook, and I asked them if I could share it because I think it really summed up the experience.
Yeah,
I think, as you mentioned, the vibe was fantastic. And I think this one just kind of did it a good service. So the gentleman, Jonathan Mill, I asked him if I could share this, and he said yes. So thank you, John. After reflecting on the night, I'd like to add some thoughts on what it felt like to be there. The feeling on the ground was electric the whole night, and when Buddy kicked the 2 goals in the third quarter, thousands of people moved down to the stands where we sit and have done for nearly 40 years, on the wing, 8 rows from the fence. I usually go to the toilet at 3/4 time, but nobody could move. It was so packed. People were lying on top of each other or squeezed into every available space. The atmosphere was thrilling. Everyone was so excited and happy and supportive. Some were a little drunk, but only in a happy way. And when he kicked the ball from Chad, everyone was on their feet. And once he kicked the ball, the crowd surged forward to the ground. People were knocked off their seats. People were knocked off their feet in a rush, and we oldies were pushed backwards towards our seats. But everyone stopped and checked and made sure that no one was hurt. Everyone was screaming with joy and smiling and supporting each other. Oldies like us were protected. Young kids were lifted safely over the crowd so they could get onto the field. In a few seconds, tens of thousands were on the field, and the more wary decided to leisurely stroll on in, or in our case, stand and admire and snap a selfie of this historic event. I finally got to go to the toilet, and even at the urinals, everyone was talking and cheering and enjoying the fiesta of Buddy and being out there and having something to cheer about. In the midst of the controlled chaos, I wondered if this could happen anywhere but here. Thousands celebrating in a crush, no anger, no idiots, no animosity. Everyone, Cats and Swans and Hawks, lots of other jerseys around. Maybe it could happen elsewhere, but it just felt so right. A nation celebrating a First Nation man, bringing the nation together, just as Ash Barty had done in January. After 20 minutes or so, everyone safely walked back to their seats until one sole dickhead was left taunting security. For the first time ever, a pitch invader was booed by the crowd, and there was a cheer when he was tackled to the ground. Because we all knew the rules, we could break them for 20 minutes. But then it was back to why we were there. The game started again, and so did the rain, and the Swans won by 30 points, and I walked home smiling broadly under the mask I kept on the whole time. I remember the young couple who now sit next to me at the games saying during the height of the excitement leading up to the goal, she said, "This is better than my wedding." He said, "Isn't it?" She said, "Yes."
Oh, that's unreal. That's perfect. That really sums it up. It was. He's right. It was just a really positive night, and just felt amazing, electric, just buzzing. We were all so lucky to be there, and it was lucky that no one got injured, or I think everyone did well there. There was many Swans fans or AFL fans have spoken about the perceived lack of security and I guess protocols and stuff. But as our guest speaker just summed it up, it was. It just worked, and it's hard to describe to people that weren't there, but it was sort of like it was a love fest, wasn't it? And, there were all these things that came out of it, the lady that spread her nan's ashes in the middle of the field, Zach Tui, who picked up that guy's phone and keys and ran back to him, the banner, "Home is where the heart is. We love playing here. The red and the white unite tonight. Let's hear it. Cheer, cheer." Kenny, he's all good after all. There was a bit of a scare there.
Yep.
Clarko in red and white.
Oh, is it a sign of things to come?
What, he's going to work under Longmire? I doubt it.
I don't think so.
It was great to see, everyone there, not just in the crowd, but players, family and friends. Buddy's family got over here from WA, and I think his sister flew in from LA as well. So It was fantastic just to see everyone there cheering him on. We also had Papley and Juzzy in the circle for the song. It was great to see. How about Chad and Ollie getting squeezed out and just walking along Driver Avenue? Someone snapped them out there, just trying to work their way back to down the race. And
I also heard that the Rampy was having a picnic on the side of a wing somewhere.
Was that Rampy, was it?
Yeah, it was Rampy having a pie. That's the rumours. So.
I'll actually say that because I know Rampy. He's been on the record saying that because he's a Sydney boy, and he supported obviously the Swans growing up, and he was there for when Plugger kicked the 1300th. I think he was one of the first ones that ran on the ground, and I just thought how wonderful for him that he was there as a fan for Plugger, and then he was there as a teammate for Buddy. But I didn't hear about the pie, but I think that's what a way to top off a night. We'll talk about Rampy's performance later on, but while you're on pies, mate, I just got one quick note to say. We got to the ground. It was obviously our first home game, and we get up to the bar, our normal bar in the O'Reilly stand, and it's all pretty fancy now. We're drinking Furfies, we're drinking Kosciuszko's, and I don't know what it is. Maybe the fancier the beers, the longer you have to wait for them. But it was a little bit like a core in round one. But also, did you hear Buddy say, "I think I've got a taste of Carlton Draft in my mouth"?
Yeah, we're sponsored by Furphy. What are you doing, buddy? Come on, mate.
Maybe that's why he had to ask whether or not Tom Harley was happy with him the next day. Surely his contract extension for another year doesn't hinge on that one little Furphy.
On that one sponsor. That's it, buddy. The Buddy budget has gone down the drain because the Furphy endorsement's gone.
That's all right. We'll get another brand on board. But
sure.
No, mate, all these things combined, and obviously we'll touch on Buddy throughout, just made it a magical night. He's the 6th player ever to reach this milestone mark, 1,000 goals. Is the only player to have done it from starting their career after the year 2000. I think it was Gary Ablett was the last player who got it in mid-90s, I think, late 90s. Obviously, Plugger he kicked the 1300th in 99, but then got his 1,000 earlier than that. But
and just to put extra bit of context, because let's talk peer to peer, right? Let's talk Buddy to one of his own peers, Tomahawk, who is a fantastic forward and one of the best in the game, and has been revered for a long time and just been playing forever. I think from off the top of my head, Buddy's got about 300 something games, 320. Tomahawk's about 320. Yeah. Tomahawk's got 306, and Tomahawk is sitting at 690 something goals.
Yeah.
So like the difference is huge. How impactful Buddy has had to be through his entire career is just insane. And like no one thinks this is ever going to happen again. So we're all here to see it, and we're there on the ground experiencing it. There's a lot of Swans fans out there that just will never forget that moment, would never forget how emotional we all were, and how like just seeing the smiles of other Swans fans and other AFL fans just generally across the ground there was just probably the best thing we've done in a few years at this point. And it kind of seemed to put like a nice stamp on the whole loss of games from COVID.
Yeah, mate, I think I was reading that the Swans intend to very quickly add this to their heritage list of Swans moments. And obviously, there's usually a bit of time in between, a moment happening and then it being added to our own internal heritage list. Obviously, premierships are up there. And then you have, the Swan song. And then I think it was Leo Barry's mark, individual moments of greatness. I'm certain Plugger's 1300, they'll be up there. But this is going to be up there as well. And,
For sure.
I just think, obviously we need to, and we've already mentioned it, that Buddy started his career at the Hawks and kicked, 580 goals at the Hawks, and now 420 for the Swans. So, this is as much their celebration, or AFL celebration, but really Hawthorn and Sydney equally celebrating just the wonderful career that Buddy has had and the joy that he's brought to both clubs. So shout out to the Hawks fans there, obviously. But so back to your point about Tomahawk, so, and we'll talk about him actually and Tommy McCartan, but it just goes to show that Buddy is really a generation, once in a generation player, because you've got someone like Tomahawk who's a tall full forward, and his strength is really outworking his opponent, taking the mark, and then going back and kicking. Whereas Buddy can kind of do a bit of everything. Not always known for his clean marking, but his follow-up work and his kicking from beyond 50 is really the thing that's separated him from his peers in this modern game. And that's it. You said they're saying it might never happen again. Due to the way in which the game's played, the huge defensive pressure, the zone defenses and all that sort of stuff. So it just makes it all the more impressive. And I'll just finish here, Chris. Sorry. I read a wonderful article that one of the Swans fans had posted on the groups. It was an ABC article, and it went through, Buddy's, basically the way he kicks, or the stats on the position of the arc where he's kicked over his career. And they also went into adjusting the top six. I think it was more than that, probably the top 15 or so players who have kicked the most goals, and adjusting it for the modern game, the difficulty of the modern game. And this one particular person who had done the research has adjusted it, taking in a few considerations, and Buddy's actually sitting second behind Plugger. It just shows you the work that he's been able to do, or the achievements he's been able to achieve in a comparatively difficult era of football, and it just makes it all the more impressive.
It just continues to. We get to watch him week in, week out still. Yeah, and we know how good he is, and everyone in AFL knows how good he is. But when you get to see him live do the things he does, you just get to admire it all the time. It's just unbelievable. And then next week we're going to do the same thing again, and the week after, and we got to pinch ourselves for a moment.
That's it, mate.
We're the ones who got to see this historic event. This probably will be the last time it ever happens. And just to next week, we just go back to watching the guy doing what he's been doing for a chunk of time. That's it, man. Being the greatest showman in the game.
That's it. Like, he's still hungry. He actually, I think he's more focused on the flag. Obviously it was an amazing achievement, and he soaked it up, and he said it was something he'll never forget. And just the way that he was basically carried off the ground, you could see the photos. He was loving it. I mean, maybe towards the end he was feeling a little overwhelmed. Fair call, but it just, you could see he was enjoying it, and we were enjoying it, and we just fed off each other. And hey, just a quick shout out. You and I purchased some very cool caps from Fry Baby, and it was a corduroy cap, red brim, white headpiece with the Buddy 1000, and my bro who was there, he said he's going to get a tattoo on his left bicep of Buddy doing his bicep up, and I was like, mate, I don't know how that's going to go over time, but yeah, I'm backing him in. Nugget,
yeah.
You got to get it now. Yeah, you're on the podcast now, mate, so you got to do it.
committed. Oh, a couple little shout outs as well. There's a gentleman with a white shirt that was looking after Buddy for what looked like the last 100 or so meters, and it kind of felt like he took it upon himself to be like, Buddy, I've got you. There's no security close to you, so I'll be your guy today, like Kevin Costner from The Bodyguard kind of moment. And he had Buddy, and he was just walking him all the way out. He wasn't mean-spirited or anything, but he did have an eye of someone who just seemed to have a focused mind on protecting his man, and he helped Buddy all the way out. And I watched some of the footage. I saw a couple of tweets out there, and whoever that gentleman is, all the best, man. Like, you did an incredible job, because although everyone was in a great steed, everyone was really happy. The fact that Buddy has any hair left in his head is surprising.
Oh man, the head taps he got was unbelievable, wasn't it?
There was some times where he looked a bit concerned, like it was just like, oh, this is kind of dragging on. But he just kept smiling, trying to enjoy the moment. And I think a big part of why it was so successful and why we're going to look back at this as being such an event, such a fantastic feeling that we all had, is also the way that he responded to it. Yeah. He took it on himself. He smiled throughout the whole thing. I'm sure it must have been so uncomfortable at moments there.
Oh, how's the claustrophobia?
Claustrophobia, and really concerning, and beer being thrown over, especially that pretty poor Carlton draft, and and he's had to work through all that, and he smiled all the way through it, came out, finished the game, and just what can you say about the guy? Not only did he do it on the field, he also did it in a respectful way that the crowd could enjoy it as well.
That's it, mate. Not all heroes wear capes, and that bloke, awesome shout out to that bloke looking after him there. But how about that bloke who caught the ball? Yeah, he caught the ball and then took off. And now that he's got like $8,000 worth of memorabilia and memberships. I'll tell you what, he did bloody well out of that.
Yeah, he did. Well, he got like a 5-year membership for 2 people.
Two 5-year memberships. He got a signed pair of boots. He got a signed jersey. He got a $200 Sharon, one of those fancy ones. Yeah. What else? He got something else as well. I thought, mate, he's done.
We got to meet Buddy. Like that's.
I mean, that's worth more than all that stuff. But right. So he did. Alex Wheeler was his name. That's right. And
good on him, because it did seem like he was in it for the right thing. He kind of took the ball. The way that I gathered from it, he took the ball. He's kind of going, oh, this is great, I've got the ball, and then he got stressed out and went, oh no, if people know I've got it, I don't want to have it. I want to make sure that and he even took a photo of it and said, don't stress everyone. It's going back to the club. It's just with me for now. So he almost took it upon himself to be the caretaker of the baby pill for the evening.
He's not only that, 1,000 ball custodian.
The custodian. That specky he took to get that ball.
Yep.
He ruined himself.
He's got an egg.
Oh, mate.
His forehead is messed up.
Superb. I reckon they should sign him up in the VFL. That was something special.
We'll talk about the VFL later on, mate. Might not have enough room. But hey, how odd was it that the drummer from Foo Fighters passed away?
Yes.
I think it was that night or the day after. And obviously the song that we play for Buddy every time is My Hero, for that iconic song of theirs. That was just a little bit of a sort of, it was tiny little bit of a downer, but it just sort of added to the whole sort of the mysticism of the night, didn't it? It was just
momentous. It was one of those moments where you can got those. Where were you when this happened?
Yeah.
That kind of just falls. It just falls in line with the Buddy moment and hearing that song. Yeah, just a special occasion for a couple of different reasons, obviously, but it just adds everything. Everything just seemed to add, and it even so far as it started raining as soon as everyone got off the pitch.
Yeah. Yeah,
we all got off, and then we're about to start playing the game again. And then it started pouring rain. It was far out. It just seemed to just been put together perfectly. So what do you say?
Hey, mate, just lastly, I want to say thanks to you and your missus as well for that little Buddy doll that you gave as a present to our young boy. We were calling him Little Plugger to date on the podcast, but I don't know, maybe we'll go with Little Buddy from now on.
Little Buddy, why not?
Little Buddy. Yeah. But anyway, thanks for that, because we took the doll and he was holding onto it for most of the night when we're down on the ground as well. So yeah, I just want to say thanks to you and Danny, mate. Well done.
More than welcome, more than welcome. Your little one almost has just as much strength amongst crowds than Buddy did. He's got no problem. He's just like loving it.
Yeah, he was down there, bushy-tailed, wide-eyed, and had his earmuffs on. But no, it was an amazing experience, and we're just so happy that we're all there for that. But mate, we should probably move on. We could probably keep doing this. It was just such an amazing. We should move on.
Our game was played. Let's talk about the game.
That's right, mate. All right. What were your key takeaways of the game, mate?
This thing called Buddy happened. All right. Now, apart from that, when we're talking about the game itself, we kicked over 100 points again.
Yeah.
I looked up because I remember hearing it some time ago, and I went looking for it just before we started here. There was an article from something like 7. Where they said, I'm sure the stats have changed since, maybe more stronger or less, I don't know. But the team the team who gets 100 points wins 80% of the time.
Mm.
And it's just one of those kind of weird markers that it's just an important. Fans know that's an important marker, and I don't know why, but it's effectively just saying the team who kind of just effectively is going to blow out at some point and get over that mark, and then the other team is playing catch up. So you're kind of just trying to knock out as many as we can. And we had those moments where we just had 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, just kind of putting some distance between them. That was particularly special. I found that's pretty good. Heaney and Chad, they're working together very, very, very well. They're bouncing off each other. They're looking for each other to get the offload. The Chad is just... With the Chad on a full run is an amazing kicker inside 50, like very, very good. I mean, the Buddy kick as an example, but he did that to Heaney. So that was really tidy. I think they're working really well together. Mills, Gordon, Warner, Rowie, Florent, and Stevens had a great game. All of those players, those kind of next level players, the players that we're expecting to next kind of pop up, are just running the game. They were the game. You didn't hear so much of Parker today. He definitely had his moments. It was definitely influential, but he wasn't the main guy. You see a couple of the others kind of picked it up, and I kind of felt that was across the board. Backline, still a bit of a concern. Still saw some pretty interesting things coming back from some of the veterans on that backline. It's a lot better, but it still kind of got me thinking that we may be kind of using that spot. But look, you've got some of the younger boys that you'll talk about that is really coming out of their own. And Paddy the interceptor. Paddy is really doing the number back there. He is coming into his own. Wow, like Jules was right, I think. I think he's really going to be this absolute breakout this season. Who knows? All Australian, first year back after 3 years off. We'd love to hear it.
That'd be something. That'd be unreal.
Love to hear it.
Hey, yeah, mate, look, we're coming equal first now. We're third on percentage. So that's Hawks, Collingwood, us, Melbourne, Brisbane Lions, and Carlton. And obviously, us, Melbourne, and Brisbane were top 8 teams last year. Hawks, Collingwood, and Carlton were, bottom 10 teams last year. So it's still very much early days, but we're coming first in most goals scored. It was 2 weeks in a row, 17 goals. We started the year last year with 3 huge wins, so hopefully we can keep that going. I mentioned that last week. For me, the main stat of the game was that the Cats were just quite inaccurate in front of goal. They had, I think, plus 18 inside 50s, but they were very wasteful overall. Their accuracy was, I think, overall like in the 30s or 40s, but in the third quarter especially, they kicked 2 goals, 6 behind. So, that's almost as bad as that last quarter against the Giants in the prelim, not the prelim, the elimination final last year with us, 2-7. So, look, we were just more efficient with it. We're about 5 or 6% more efficient with it. In the end, we had 36 more uncontested possessions, so we're just like racking up the possession. And I think if you remember last year, that was really the key to our winning formula, is that we would get the ball on the outside, work our short kicks. There'd be these amazing transitions from defence to inside 50, and that was where we were getting a lot of our scores from. And so it's looking like that we're taking that game plan into 2022 as well, and it's looking good so far, but we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. In terms of some of those other younger players you mentioned, Lizard had an amazing game. It looks like he's starting to become one of the more trusted kick-ins. So it's Lloyd obviously is still that main kicker. But then I saw it was Lloyd and Blakey almost 50-50, and then Campbell and Cunningham in that order. So again, like that midfield group that you mentioned, we're getting Blakey and Campbell who are looking more and more solid each week. Obviously, Juzzy is injured, but he'll probably make his way back in soon, and he's on the halfback there. But yeah, look, there's a few talking points we can pick up later on, but that's probably all I had to say there in terms of key takeaways. So we may as well move on to favourite moments, mate. So what was your favourite moment of the game?
Yeah, look, it's hard to go past the Buddy moment.
Buddy.
It's like it was just perfect, wasn't it?
Let's look at those. Okay, so he scored four goals.
Yep.
First in first quarter, second in third in third, and fourth in fourth. Yep. Shout out, how did the ball get to him in those four instances, mate?
Mills to Buddy in the first. I thought that was a pretty tidy one. He ran himself into the pocket.
Yep.
To get that one. It was a half decent angle, and he just nailed it. Perfect kick right down the middle.
Yeah.
The second, do you want to recall this one?
Oh, free kick, I believe. Henry in the back. I mean,
bit of a soft one there, but
it may have been there, it may not have, but we'll take that. How about the third, mate?
The third one I actually can't remember that well.
I think it was Parker, because I remember when he got it, Buddy was really excited, and Parker was the first one to him behind him, and it looked like lip reading. One more to go.
He was sent it up. That's right. Yeah, Parker got it out to him. He was sent it up about 45 out.
That's right. Yeah. Almost directly in front.
Right. Yeah, he was particularly pumped at that one. And I think that's when we all felt it. We're like, okay, this is going to happen.
That's when you started to feel that major buzz in the crowd. It's like, okay, everyone get down to the boundary. So that's where it was.
I looked over to you, I think, after that goal, and I've had a look, and your eyes were just like, go, man, like this. I just ran out from the O'Reilly rabble, and I've just bolted down there and found myself a nice space, and the O'Reilly stand just close to the fence there, and everyone was packed, and everyone there was quite nice. Especially there was one gentleman telling us that our seats weren't here, so that was kind of interesting. He's like, your seat's not here. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. Like, but everyone got out of his way. He moved in. Everyone was being quite nice. There was people coming back with beers, so the beer line, everyone jumps out of the way, make sure the beers are okay.
Yeah.
But that was the one. And from where we were, that lineup. So when Chad kicked it, hit Buddy right in the chest perfectly. We had a fantastic line of sight from being right directly behind where Buddy was kicking it from.
Yeah.
And so did your brother as well.
Yeah.
He ran down there and found it. We were down there together, but we kind of got lost a little bit. So he went to a different section.
I saw his videos and your videos, and they look pretty similar. But I love that Nugget was doing a bit of crowd control. It was like when Buddy was like running in for the goal, he was like, shh, everyone, shh.
I was doing that too. I'm a terrible...
hush 36,000 people, but that moment that someone that took a video of Warner up close in the crowd, how he was just over the moon. He's like, I kicked it to him, like it just meant so much to him. It was so cool, wasn't it? And
if you look back, rewatching the game today to make sure I was capturing everything, because watching it live, you see quite a lot, but you might miss some of the players that you might have seen that might have been doing things. You might not see the number correctly. And every time that Buddy goaled or did something good, Chad was at him straight away. He was the Chad was particularly pumped. So I think the fact that he was able to be a part of this history was a special moment for him. I'd love to hear what he says about it all, but he was just enraptured by it all.
Definitely, mate. WA boy to a WA boy. So a bit of something nice there. How about the team moments? Did you have any? I know. Like I'm the same. Like it was very much Buddy's night. And we're going to talk about our best and fairest in the next section. But any other nice moments that we're really picking, and we're trying to find non-Buddy moments here. But
it's hard to. But no, there was a great moment we got a good inside 50. The Cats were kind of trying to use it. They were trying to move it around to try to find some space to get it out. Our guys like Wicks and those fellas, LaFlorent, was trying to put lots of pressure on them. Kind of in the halfback place, they kind of punted it towards the center. Blakey just basically just not collected, but just ran in hard towards the ball. Got some really good body contact with the player that was going to kind of let the ball fall on the ground. Heaney's run through, coming from the halfback, our halfback, going through the center. Cleans up the ball really smoothly from his hand, but then slips over. He gets it off to someone, I think to Wicks or someone. Blakey gets it again. And then Blakey, instead of just pummeling it forward, like which we should do because that's an easy inside 50, has the smarts to look to the wing where you've got Joey Kennedy sitting there in a perfect position as a winger, screaming for the ball, grabs it, has all the time that he wanted, and then just puts it into a dangerous area where Haywood goals. So the part that I particularly liked about it is if you watch it back, Joey actually is just about to run straight into the center to do what he's done his entire career, which is put a body and grab that ball. And you see his eyes just go, no, 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 no. And he just turns around and starts running into a space on the wing. And then a second later, that's when Blakey grabs it, punts it to the wing. He's there by himself. We get an easy inside 50 and score from the back of that. So we'll touch a bit about what Joey's doing, but that was really special. I think that's showing a lot what he's doing lately. Good positioning.
Hey, mate, I've got a couple things, and I'm going to butcher the third one because I wasn't able to put down the notes, but it came into my mind as you said something. But I'll say the two ones I've prepared. Errol Goulden did a beautiful field kick down the wing, closest to the members, like broadcast side, on his non-preferred right foot, but it was lace out to Buddy, who Buddy was pushing hard off, our forward 50. I think it was Buddy's first possession of the game. That's just an individual moment of very high skill
set
for a non right footer. I just was just like, oh my God, Errol, you're fantastic. So that was my solo brilliant, other than Buddy, obviously, solo brilliant moment. In terms of team, look, I just think that we had a really good second quarter and that set us up. We were 100% accurate in front of goal. We kicked 7 goals, 0 behinds, and that was the one where I think Heaney kicked 2 or 3 or something, and he was just on fire. We'll touch on him in a moment. But the third one I was going to say is, and you might remember this for me because I'm definitely going to forget the details halfway through. I don't even know why I'm talking about this right now. But Blakey took a kick in and he sort of took off to the left, and it was, he sort of cut the angle and sort of, he was taking off on a 45-degree angle and then switched the direction of his kick to go straight up the ground to basically the center square.
Yeah.
And then he just picked someone out. I think it was like maybe Florent or Parker. Florent. Yeah. And then Florent got it, kicked it inside 50. And then I think we got a goal, or maybe it went through another set of hands and it was like 4. Did it lead to a goal? This is the bit I was unclear on. I'll double check because I rewatched the game as well last night. But I was checking in on little Buddy who was not sleeping very well, so I probably didn't take as good notes as I should have. But I'll double check that one because I remember it just being, firstly, Lizard's kick, a thing of beauty. It just fully opened up the corridor. And then after that, I'm sure it ended up with maybe a Haywood goal or something. But anyway, doesn't matter. It was we had an awesome game anyway. So, and plenty of really good moments there for everyone. Mate, up next is the ABOB medal. That's our equivalent of the Bob Skilton medal. This week, the Bevies' best 3 were Isaac the Heat Heaney, Lance Buddy Franklin, and Callum Cal Mills. All right, mate. So do you want to kick us off with the Heat, please, mate?
Yeah, the Heat was he's just found his position, hasn't he? Like it's been such a natural transition into the mids where his tackle, his pressure, and it's just his skill sets are just phenomenal. The one that I particularly liked was, I can't remember who it was just bombed it into our 50. Buddy goes up, goes to grab, overhead mark. We all know Buddy's not going to take this overhead mark, but he just drops it down in front of him. Heaney is exactly where he needs to be as a small forward. Grabs the ball, throws it onto his left non-preferred boot, in a heartbeat. So in one motion, grab, slammed it onto his boot, kicks a goal. And it's just the speed that he does it. He's such an athlete. Oh, man, I can't like he's got to be getting Brownlow votes. He's got to be up there by
He's
the
got
end
to
of the
be.
year.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I just can't say enough about his transition. And now we're going to see and showcase his true skill set. Not only can he go out there and take a hanger and a mark and all that, but his running ability and his ability to be tough inside, be wherever the ball needs to be that extra man, play a small forward role, play a halfback hanger, take a mark and go for a run. He can do it all. So now just sharpening the skills and the inside to make sure he touches the ball more often is huge. Massive stuff.
Yeah, I love seeing Buddy's reaction to what Heaney does, because I think Buddy is like genuinely impressed by Heaney, and I'm sure Buddy has a lot of players that he respects, but I just sort of sometimes see the two interact on the field, and you think, and Buddy's going, yeah, that was pretty good, mate.
Yeah, like, I think
you weren't bad, mate. Like that kind of thing. But
I wish I could snap it running away from goal like that. Yeah.
Oh, mate, like obviously last week Lukey Parker didn't get the memo that it was Buddy's week, and he kicked 5 in that fourth Brett Kirk medal. And this week it looked like it was going to be Isaac Heaney, who kicked 5 goals, 21 disposals, 12 kicks at 92% efficiency. So that he improved his efficiency from last week, which is good, and also had 5 tackles, as you said. So just putting it together, And I agree, mate. I think that he will be getting regular Brownlow votes this year if he continues the form that he's showing. So fingers crossed.
One thing I got thinking about today was he's the youngest of all the brothers, isn't he?
Of which brothers?
He's got a couple of brothers, but he's the youngest from memory.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, I think so.
See, we missed out on all these guys. We missed out on some other players potentially.
Yeah.
Because they're up there in Cardiff and they didn't play AFL.
Maybe they were playing league, yeah. But goodness, slipped through the cracks. But that just goes to show the academy is a really it's a good thing, and we got to keep that.
Noddy, don't tell him about it. Don't tell.
It's the word we're not allowed to mention in public.
Eddie Maguire will come out from underneath your bed and try to take it away from us.
All right, mate. Let's get on to Buddy. We've spoken about him already, but a few general comments on the great man.
Yeah, look, just aside from the fact that the kicking the 4 goals and kicking it from all different angles and be as competitive as it was, tackle pressure by the Budster was just phenomenal. He really forced a lot of quick kickouts by Geelong, which meant that our guys were able to pick that up, move it around themselves, and get it back in there again. So it's just doing what Buddy does, which is not only being a force with the ball, also being a force without it. You don't want to be holding on to the ball for too long when you've got a 6 foot, what is he? 6'6",
6'7",
199.
Yeah,
just a monster coming at you at a decent speed too. So like he's a force.
Yeah, his forward 50 tackle pressure is, Wixie had Swans high inside 50 tackles on 5. He equaled 5 with, I want to say Hayward, but Buddy was not too far behind. So it just goes to show that his job isn't over when he doesn't kick it or bring it to ground. He's working hard. He's a real team player. His general presence, his field kicking is just very exquisite.
Good.
Yeah. And plus 4 of the best goals.
Yeah, those ones.
How about that goal? Like he almost backed it up in the third. He spun around and went in and out and then sort of just miskicked it, and it went short, I think, to maybe Heaney, and then he kicked the goal. But
we're all hoping that it was going to bounce over someone's head and go straight through.
That would have been one hell of a goal, because he was bobbing in and out and ducking and weaving, and it just might have been indicative of the type of skill that he's shown over his career. But didn't matter anyway, because we got there in the end. Hey, let's finish with Millsy. Real solid game. How did you see it, mate?
Yeah, again, just like similar to Heaney, just really coming into his own. Look, he's taken on the captaincy this year, and that does some things to certain players. But not for him. He's picked it up. He's playing harder. He's around the ball more. He had a job on Paddy, and I think he only had a couple of touches in the first quarter. He kind of got a few more. He kind of found a little bit of space towards the end there. I think the Chad jumped on him, but even then, like, had no real impact.
He didn't really do much. Hey, yeah.
No, he had a couple of moments where he kind of screaming out from the center half. But what are you going to do? Like, he's got the speed. If you give him a foot, he'll make that happen. But really, really shut him down. And considering he was the most impactful player the week before and a huge part of their win, it's just Mills just doing it on all sides, and it's just a great player. He's going to be a great player for a long time. We knew that, and to finally see him in the mids, since the whole team's been screaming for it for a long time, it seems like the right time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely, mate. Like, backing up what you said, 29 disposals, 6 clearances, 12 contested possessions, 18 uncontested possessions, 4 tackles and a goal. That's a pretty good captain's knock. And I remember there was a moment when they were around the ball and both he and Heaney were like just sharking. They were just on their opposition players, and they were both just like tackling to all hell, and they both got up and just high-fived each other, and I was like, yeah, boys. It was just, I was like, yeah, very impressed with this game and just really accountable, and just continues to show what it, the amazing, breakout midfield season that he had last year, but off the back of an amazing apprenticeship off the halfback line, so ever since he joined the club. So awesome game. Honourable mentions, mate. I know we've all got a couple. We both got a couple, sorry. Do you want to kick off?
Yeah, Paddy McCartan, just intercept marks all over the place. Just lovely. I think, it's just two weeks of decentness, but this particular week was like really good. I don't know, so excited to see what he can do. It seemed like he was everywhere. It seemed like every time that the ball was pumped up high, he was the guy floating underneath it. He just knew exactly where it was going to head.
Yeah, I mean, that first quarter, when the Cats got a jump on us in that first half of the first quarter, if it weren't for he had, I think by the end of the first quarter, he had 5 intercept marks. Yeah. And so it really was him and Blakey, I think, was putting some pressure on as well. A few one percenters and pressure acts there really kept us in the game. And by the second half of that first quarter, those guys, their defensive efforts got us back in. So I'm with you, mate. Like, Paddy's had 2 really good, solid games in a row. It's very exciting.
And with the leg as well, I found his kicking would be really nice this week. He only had the one shocker last week, but nonetheless, like, he's just doing really well. And the other one was Warner. I mean, Warner's just unbelievable. He's just a wild little firebrand. He's just right. The effort that he's putting into the runs, the tackle, the pressure. He's only half a step away from being the quickest guy on the pitch sometimes when that short bursts. And he's using it. He's really, really trying to put a half a foot in front of between him and the defender and get himself some space. And on a full run, like I said before, his kicking skill at full pace is very, 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 very good. It's elite. So to have someone like that just lacing out targets in the inside 50 is just such a dream we have with that inside mids right now. So the Chad is a bit hard done to not make the top 3, but he's very close, and I think we're going to be saying his name quite a lot this year.
Damn right. One that was pretty close for me, mate, was Errol. I just thought he was really, really good. Kicked 2-1 at 20 odd disposals. Just the effectiveness of his usage is just unbelievable for a second-year player. Like, he just makes the right decisions pretty much every time. And look, he's human. He's a second-year player, so he's going to make mistakes, but they're far and few between. And this was just another game where I thought, oh God, he just keeps doing it. He is going to be a serious threat in the years to come. I also had Blakey. I thought he played really well for some of those moments we've already spoken about. Dane Rampy, aside from the picnic and the pie on the wing, he wore Jeremy Cameron like a glove and kept him goalless, as did Tommy McCartan on Tomahawk. Those were the players that I thought warranted a bit of a mention, aside from our best 3. I think that's probably it. Do you have anything to add to those, mate, or is that all good?
No, I think you nailed it. I think it's one of those things where a game like we had, it took a lot of players to do their role. And if we start, let's name some of the names we just named there. So Heaney, Franklin, Mills, Paddy, Warner, Errol, Blakey, Rampy, Tommy. They're all in totally different positions, and they were really doing their role. And it's seemingly coming together very nicely. Touch wood.
Yep. And as you mentioned earlier, we've left out some of those senior players there from that regular best performance, the likes of Parker, Kennedy, Lloyd, Hickey. Hickey also had a really good game,
Hickey had
we should
a great
say.
game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Racking up the
Tall
clearances
Jesus,
again. Yeah. Tall Jesus.
Tall Jesus is, we've gotten so lucky by picking him up, but he's consistent. And I think he's kind of falling into that characteristic where it's just like, oh yeah, Hickey's just doing that thing, which is winning his own clearances.
Yeah.
And we just kind of go, oh, that's just what he does. But we just need to remember how much he means to the team, because if we didn't have him with a young set of mids, then it probably might be a very different story. And I think I'd like to see how I hope he never doesn't get, but I want to see what ends up happening if we do drag in some of those other ruckmen, your Amadis, your McLeans to come in, your Laddams. See how that gels together. But for now, he's doing a great job. And one thing I do like about the Hick, if you indulge me, when they were getting warming up to get back out there again after that massive stoppage, because I don't know if you noticed, Buddy kicked 1,000, the crowd jumped on the field. Everyone was doing their exercises. They were lying on the ground, doing their movements with their legs. Buddy's on a bike. Everyone's got a job to do. Hickey is a veteran, so he doesn't have to do any of that. He's just wandering around as talking to people as they're lying on the ground doing their stretches. Because I can only imagine at this point, is Hickey knows Hickey's body the best. Let him just do his own thing. And he was barely moving, but it was just I'll be right. It's best that I don't move until I have to. That kind of old man Jesus mentality. I loved it.
Mate, he's, I think you're bang on there. He's such an experienced player, and he just sort of knows what he can and can't do. And it's very early days. Obviously he's had a few injuries. He's got that that PCL that flares up, but touch wood, he can keep rolling on because he's looking the goods again. But if he can continue this form, add a few goals here and there as he does, then he, just with how the other rucks are going in the comp, he could be in for All Australian contention if he can continue. And again, it's round 2, it's early, but I'm just throwing it out there. Hickey had an amazing season last year and was probably unlucky to not be even selected in the 40-man squad. In the end, I think it was Gawn and Grundy, wasn't it? But Nick Nat. Yeah, that's right. That's right, with his tap work. But yeah, look, I mean, they're going to be up there again this year, but we'll see how he goes. We may as well just roll over because we kind of started already into hot topics.
Yeah, go.
So I think no injuries listed in the game, which is good. Millsy, I think someone said, might be reported, I haven't seen it yet officially, for tripping the umpire. Last time he did this in a remarkably similar situation, which is Millsy marking a player tight in the centre square at a centre bounce, and the bouncing umpire moving, running backwards to get out of there, has tripped over Callum Mills's leg and fallen over. Last time this happened, I think it was $1,000 fine or $1,500 fine. It was the first fine that Millsy ever got. It was last year. I'm guessing he'll get stung again. But
yeah, I mean,
what's he meant to do? He can't move.
I think the whole idea is zero tolerance, and if I prefer that they have a black and white stance on this than have this vague stance that they do with the MRO, with the MRO. What's it called, MRO, which is don't get me started. We can talk about that another time. But we so I don't mind the zero tolerance. At the end of the day, your job is to get out of the way of that umpire. So you have to do it. It's on your responsibility. It's not theirs, because they are coming straight backwards, and it's on you to move out of the way. So I don't mind. I mean, I don't like it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a big fan of it. But the other alternative is to have a grey area, which I think is really dangerous, which I don't want to see.
Fair enough, mate. It would probably just piss me off if I had to cough up $1,000 every time an umpire accidentally got in the way of my leg. But anyway, I fully acknowledge what you've said, and it's better to have a clear system so we can avoid that muck that is the MRO. Hey, we've spoken about Joey a few times throughout. I really think he looked better on the wing than the half-back line, because I just think it's closer to the middle of the ground, which is just his happy place.
Yeah, I was quite quick to say things last week, and I am so happy with the way he played and the positioning of it. I think it was perfect. So, yeah, maybe the horse has kind of found another role for him. Let's see how it goes, but it looks really good.
I wonder, so Juzzy McInerney had that role on the wing, and that's why Joey was in the halfback. I actually think that maybe they're the two players that are changing, because last week we obviously saw Joey go to the halfback while Juzzy was on the wing, and then vice versa. With Juzzy out, it looked like Joey played way more time on the wing. I haven't seen his game time split, but field split, but it looked just from the naked eye that he was almost wholly stationed on the wing. I thought he played a lot better. He was involved throughout. I was happy with it overall, but look, I think that's probably enough to say on Joey there. Obviously keeps his spot. If he continues to play as he did there on the wing, as he did in the Cats game, then no worries.
Yeah, he had, I think, one contested possession this week, which is 100% enhancement from the week before, which is massive. But it just goes to show that his game has changed so much. So we have to be a little bit gentle of how we're going to see how this is going to transition, and this transition to the wing looked very, very smooth. So keep our eyes on it, make sure we can get some more out of him.
Definitely, mate. And I do kind of hope he can have a crack at those records he's breaking, which I think is clearances or contested clearances or something like that. But probably not if he's on the wing, but you never know. We'll see how he goes. I'll double check. I think I said I was going to do that last week for homework and didn't get around to it. So I'll definitely do it this week. McLean has locked up that spot. He just chopping Hickey out. He's just a capable ruckman anyway, but going forward, he's a target, and he's making the most of his opportunities. He's kicking goals. I think he's looking good. But McDonald, on the other hand, another quiet night.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is just part of the apprenticeship, isn't it? In some ways, because he is a great target. I mean, but look, I don't mind seeing him play and not getting too many possessions and having a couple cracks of goal. I think he didn't. Did he score at all, or did he just have that one clanger?
He kicked that one out on the full. He just sort of pulled it, but. It's part of that flying hours thing that Horse mentioned last week. We get that, and it was probably good to have him out there for that game with Buddy, because if he's Buddy's heir apparent in the years to come, then it was good experience for him to be out there for that. And but you don't want him just sort of taking up space. But does Latham get a chance soon? I mean, we had that massive win in the VFL over the Dogs by 44 points. Away at AJ Whitten Oval, and the Dogs were like in the top 3 or something at the end of the VFL season last year. It was a bit of a rabble though with coronavirus, but that was a pretty big win. I watched the first quarter and a half, but then we had to get going to the game. But so does Lathams get a chance, mate, next week?
I think the only way Lathams gets in is if we have an injury at this point, or if someone really just drops themselves. The setup of the team and what we're looking to in the future pretty much looks like the team that we have now, right? So with the exception of Hickey, who arguably can go down with an injury, that might be concerning, and then he's the first one in. But then I don't see anyone in the field that's doing anything that shouldn't keep their spot. It's easy to say after a win and after a successful win against the Cats, who thought we were going to be a bit dangerous. But I struggle to think of where. Maybe you're right. The McDonald spot is probably the only one, but then we know, in the words of Jules, the jumbo jet that is McDonald. Are we going to be able to reef that away from him? Just take away some hours on the pitch? I don't see why we should, but I guess I don't know. I'd
probably roll with him, but we'll see. I mean, like the other one there is Wicks, for Sheldrick. So Gussie was med sub, and he was down in the sheds and he was singing the song, so it was good for him to be amongst it as well. I'm a fan of Wicks, local Sydney boy, does what he has to do. He brings that forward 50 pressure. It'd be nice to kick a couple of goals as well, but you can't always kick goals as a small forward. Bradley Close had a day out for the Cats. He played very, very well as a small forward, but it's probably the hardest position on the field. So look, I'm probably with you, mate. I'm inclined to roll over that team. Don't muck with a winning formula. The only thing there is, because I think Papley's still away. They're taking a conservative approach with his hammy, and you don't want to rush that because he's competition best small forward. We want him primed at the right time. But if Juzzy's knee is all good, does he squeeze back in, and if so, who? They're the questions I think next week that we'll be looking at all throughout this week for selection.
Yeah, exactly. I think fans of the podcast should listen out on Thursday for when they get released. No, would it be Wednesday when they be released?
Well, it's a Thursday game this week, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be a Wednesday night release. Good thing we're
Wednesday
getting
night
this out
release.
tonight, mate.
That's it. We need to. So I think we'll probably touch on that if Juzzy does come back in. It'd be really interesting to see who. Really good point on Wicks and Sheldrick. Perhaps they're sharing a spot in a way. But Wicks has done nothing to prove that he shouldn't be there, and his pressure is always very high, and that's kind of the role they needed him in. Because a guy like Papley feeds on that. You need them to make mistakes. He crumbs it. He can go from anywhere, but he needs help putting pressure on those defenders.
Yeah, we haven't even mentioned Wilbur. Wilbur kicked three very good goals and was everywhere really in the tackling. So, if those two guys are the small forwards, with Goulden chopping in, they're not all going to kick 3 goals. Some they're going to have to share the tackling around and all that sort of stuff. So, look, for me, it's probably roll over, keep the same structure, but just only very slight question mark on McDonald. I don't think they'll rest Buddy now that he's kicked his 1,000th. There was talk of that maybe resting him against the Dogs and bringing him back for the Roos and the SCG in round 4. But I reckon they'll just keep pushing him out. I think he's like, I want to win the Coleman now. So
yeah, well, Hayward's an interesting one. I think Hayward is also he's a setup thing. It's a well worked out setup that he's been playing beside Buddy for his entire career, and he's only 21, 22 years old or whatever.
He's early 20s, so same age as Ollie. So what's that, 23, 24ish? I think
he's a child. So it's just kind of it works well, and he just seems to put it together.
Yeah. Hey, one last thing, mate, before we go.
Yeah.
Are you still? I know you'd bought tickets to go down to Melbourne for the Dogs game. You still going?
Yes, I'm still going. The plan is to head down there. As you can probably hear, my voice is a bit rough, and so I went and got myself a PCR test. So, all leaning on that PCR test being negative. I'm feeling a lot better today than I was yesterday, so I'll be heading down.
Mate, did you catch COVID-19 or Buddy 1000?
Well, there was a lot of people in that mosh pit. I caught something off someone. He's hoping it's just a head cold that will go away in a day or so.
You'll be right, mate.
And I'm sure it's going to be okay. One thing I did want to mention as well is I was lucky enough to actually meet up with Zane Red and White, who's a absolute lovely guy. Loves his footy. He's I don't know, how would you personality?
On super
Twitter
fan, just a Swans super fan. I always read his posts. They're so insightful and so passionate. I love reading his stuff. And when I heard you were meeting him, I was like, oh, bloody awesome. And I just couldn't get the logistics right. I had little Buddy coming in, so I couldn't meet up with you guys. But yeah, I'm stoked you got to meet him and chat to him.
Yeah, lovely guy. We spoke about a lot of things. We spoke about the Swans before, how he got into the team initially, because he's actually from Geelong.
Yep. Nice.
We spoke about the team that is now, some of his favorite players. So I'll be getting that out during the week.
Awesome.
And he was on the side. He actually does arts. He does some print work.
Cool.
And he actually made yourself and me and a couple of the other Bevy crew Buddy artwork that I'll take some pictures of and throw on Twitter and Instagram. So really, really absolutely lovely guy. Had a great time with him. So hoping I can meet him again and do something a bit more. I don't know, a bit more in front of the Swans, screaming in front of the Swans together at some point.
Awesome, mate. That's so cool. Thank you so much for that. That's we're really privileged. Thank you. Can we make it 3 wins in a row?
Yes, I think we can. Norton's not feeling so good, and I don't think they're playing it to their best. I was watching half the game tonight. They're not looking great, but I think our team's just firing well. I think that's the biggest part. I don't think you can really put it down to a team playing badly, because they can switch that on. But I think we're playing pretty damn well. So that's the way we're going to go.
I think I heard Bailey Smith is coming back in, but Norton out. Yeah, these are 2 pretty good young players. So, they're a bit down on firepower in their forward line, unless that young Jamara Ugle-Hagan can step up. But yeah, it's going to be a pretty close game either way. I mean, they've got stars everywhere, and is this the week that they're going to click? But hopefully it's a good game in any case, and I hope you get down there and say hello to our South Melbourne brethren. I know some of the South fans came up to the SCG last round, so
sure did, yeah.
for Buddy's game, that's awesome. So it's a good thing you're paying the love back, mate. So Good on you, mate. I would just say before the game on Friday night, I texted you and I was feeling a bit nervous. I was like, because I went through the stats, I was like, I don't think Buddy's going to kick it. I texted you. I was like, do you have a spare ticket to the Melbourne game, to the Dogs game? And you're like, yeah, mate. I was like, oh, thanks. So and then I was like, but we'll just wait and see how he goes, because he might kick it after all. And now he's kicked it. I'll let you go on your own, mate.
Cheers. I'll be there by myself. It's all right.
That's all right, mate. All right, well, that's us for tonight, mate. So I'll do the outro and I'll chat to you soon. That brings us to the end of this episode. So on behalf of the Bevy, I would like to say thank you very much to everyone listening in. Tune in again on Thursday night for our team's announcement video and preview post. Otherwise, make sure to keep following us on Instagram and Facebook at A Bevy of Bloods for updates and announcements. Until then, up the Bloods. And can you, Swanee?